Right. Well, we want to welcome everybody to today's training seminar. And so thank you for coming. And we hope that this will help you. Today, we've got Jim in the house, and he's going to be talking to us about getting Google to promote your website. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Daredevil, Jim Carroll.
Thank you, Boyd, and thank you everyone for being here. Today, I started the conference when I started to do my research, and what I really wanted to talk about is I've got a couple of new clients that both have stores, and I wanted to talk specifically about how to get Google to promote your store, how to show up a little tiny bit better as far as a storefront goes. So what I wanted to do was write a presentation today about storefronts. And what it kind of turned into was there we go. Let me reduce this a little bit so I can see it. What it turned into today was something about storefronts, but it really turned into Google My Business is kind of what it showed up as. When I was doing all my investigation to figure out how to make Google show up a storefront, it sent me to all kinds of information, or the internet sent me to all kinds of information about Google My Business. So let's jump in and see what all of that is about. So I'm, of course, Jim Carroll. This is a slide that I've started to show in a couple of my presentations, and it's a little bit of a chronological history of me. I own E2 Total Solutions. It's an SEO firm. We do social media management, link building, and all of that stuff. Prior to that, I owned a hosting company. You guys all know that. I owned a design agency that was called Hole in the Sky, or HITS for short, which was kind of great. And then I had a corporate job before that. I've been involved in business for a long time. Business leader, chamber ambassador, score counselor, ELP leadership. I mean, you guys can see all of that stuff. So I've been really involved with small business for a long time, and I really have a passion for small business. So I think that between Boyd and I, we have a great deal of experience and really enjoy that community. So this is my favorite slide, the slide that shows a little tiny bit about me. You guys all know that I'm crazy, and I've jumped out of planes and scuba dived with sharks and lived in the mountains and lived in Hawaii, been to Africa. So you guys can see quite a bit about me. I raised a hops plant, and when I took all my hops into the microbrewery there in Heber where I lived, and they made beer out of my hops. So I kind of have my little hops plant there as a marker as well. This is a little bit of my life. I like to do fun things. It kind of, when I put the two slides together, the previous one and this one, I thought, you know, how ironic that I have this real formal kind of business acumen, and then this is the private side of my life that people don't get to see. So I thought it was pretty funny, actually. So I think I just did something that made my screen go away. Okay. So the thing I wanted to kind of touch on today is that I was told a long time ago is that there's three legs that a business lives on. And those three legs, of course, are service, quality, and price. And so that's kind of how I started out in business, and started to think, you know, a long time ago that those were the only mainstays, or those were the primary legs that upheld your business. Well, today I ran a scan on my own company, and this scan on my own company shows that there's three ways that you can really find E2. Generally, I don't talk too much about E2 Total Solutions, which is my company. I like to pick on Boyd's company a little tiny bit. Today, I did a lot of research. We're going to have several slides that refer to E2 Total Solutions. So the thing that was kind of interesting is in the last month, I've had more people discover me through a discovery call than or search for me directly, which was kind of an interesting mindset to me, that most people are searching for me, searching for my business as far as what we do, not typing in my URL directly. They're not looking for the brand, they're looking for a discovery, which was an exciting thing to me. Then of course, we're going to jump into this a great deal, but that's a little picture of Google My Business, or how they're kind of discovered Google My Business. So as I started to think about the three legs, or kind of reminisce a little bit about the three legs that a business stands on the internet. You guys have probably seen me show this slide before. There's three primary legs that internet business kind of stands on, if you will. The first one is on-site content. And how do you rank? How do you be found? They're all functions of the on-page content, and that means blogging. That means the meta code that sits behind the site, whether your images have alt descriptions or not. That's the first leg. Second leg is newer to me, I should say. It's social media, and that's not new. I mean, it's 10, 12 years old, but reviews are important. Social media is important. The demographic that you're going after is important. We're going to talk all about those things in just a minute. And the third leg, of course, is one of the mainstays of optimization, which is link building. And it gets really complex as far as how deep your links actually go, and who you're linking to, and is it a follow link or a no follow link? Or, I mean, it's all kinds of weird stuff that goes on in the linking world. But this is not about linking today. We're going to talk mostly, as I said, about 10 ways to rank your storefront, or 10 secrets, I should say, to SEO, or make your storefront show up more properly. Google. So we'll jump right in. And the first one is you need to add site maps, your site, I should say, to Google Maps. And there's a couple of ways to find out if that is being done. The first one is to go to the Maps app on your smartphone and search for your name. If there is a listing there, that will show up. If it appears in the drop-down menu, there's no further action that you need to take. Some people, I should say, don't know whether their site's going to show up or not. So this is kind of a quick syllabus on how to do it. If your business isn't named there, then what you need to do is add the option in the drop-down menu and add missing places, and then add your site to that missing place. So that's kind of a graphic there that shows you some of those things. So the next thing is you need to claim your Google My Business listing. And you can, some people don't know whether it's claimed or unclaimed. And so there's two graphics there that show both a claimed site and an unclaimed site. So if you just see a loose listing for your business, then that's an unclaimed site, and you do need to go into Google My Business and claim your site. The prerequisite for claiming your business is to have a Google My Business account. That obviously goes without saying. A lot of businesses that I run into or that I talk with, I ask them about your Google My Business account. You cannot rank without a Google My Business listing, or you cannot rank organically, I should say, without a Google My Business account. And so what you need to do is go in and see if you have an account and a claimed account. And in many cases, the business owner or the decision maker doesn't know what's gone on before them. So if you have a manager or somebody that manages your business for you, he may have set up the Google My Business account, and it might actually be in his name, or it might actually be in a previous employee's name or a manager's name. So you need to find out if you've got the Google My Business account, and then take control of that account. You can simply check and see if you have the account, and then claim that account if you don't have one. If you do have one, then you need to find out if if you own it or the previous manager owns it, and then contact him and try and take control of that. They're pretty liberal with their transferring or ability to transfer from one client to another. Boyd, you've got something to say.
Yes. One of the things that I have found with Google is if you go into let me find the exact address here, into business.google.com, it will then show you, once you've logged in and everything, all the things that you have claimed. And if you don't have your business claimed there, or it says that you're not set up, then one of the options is add the business. And when you click add the business, it'll bring up, you start putting in the name, it will then pull up, like in the case of this, Rogers Electric, but maybe it's Ernie's Electric. And so you put in Ernie's Electric and it'll say, are you the owner? And you can claim it, but you've got to tell them exactly who you are and what you're doing. Now, if you are not the owner, do not put in that you're the owner. Put in that you're managing the site, or you work for the company, whatever it might be. And they will then send a message out to the person who does have it. If they did not respond in 3 days, or they say he's not part of the company, then they'll do something with it. If they don't respond in 3 days, they'll give you the access. If they do respond and say, no, he's not, then you're out of luck. You're going to have to work with them to get that wrestled away from whoever it is.
What's that URL again?
So it's business.google.com. And then I actually put in /locations, so it'll show me all the locations I have. Now I manage 10 or 12 locations for our companies and for other people, and so that shows me all of them that I have.
That's not how I access them, but I'm sure that it works. I just go to Google My Business and I have 25 listings or whatever there. So
this is the Google My Business actual page.
Okay.
So it is.
All right. Well, moving right along.
Right.
You do need to claim your business or own your business or recapture your business if it's not being shown that you're in fact owner. So it's claimed versus unclaimed and the difference between the two. So I'm 100% against reading you a laundry list of things to do, but in this case, I'm going to kind of read a laundry list of things to do. The first couple of things that I want to show you, as I told you, we'd jump into my business instead of Boyd's on this occasion. So there is my Google My Business. If you type in E2 Total Solutions, not .com, but E2 total solutions, this is what you get. And so it does in fact show you my Google My Business page. So if I go into my Google My Business page, these are kind of the prompts that we're going to jump through pretty quickly. But what you need to do is fill out your information and make it real for Google. So you first of all claim your business, you complete every one of these sections, and that's all of these sections that we're going to go through right here. And you must be meticulous about your contact information. If you have a erroneous address or a phony number or something, Google's not going to be able to recognize it and is going to punish you accordingly. I've said this many, many times. There's reward and punishment in the Google world, nothing in between. So make sure that you have all of your contact information in there properly. Select your categories appropriately. Sometimes they're frustrating when you try and set up an account. For example, I have an account that is a jeweler, and they're very, very specific to women's jewelry, and that option wasn't available. It was jeweler or jewelry manufacturer or supplier or importer. They didn't have that category, very, very specific to what this client does. So you get it as close as you can. Google kind of controls that end of the world. but get it as close as you can. Mark off the applicable attributes, write a compliment or complete, excuse me, from the business description, publish Google posts weekly. And again, this seminar that we teach every week is not a straight up advertisement, but Boyd has a program that can show you how to post on a regular basis. You set up all your posts on a schedule and do that once a month, and you can post to Google on a regular basis, which most people don't know this. Boyd's kind of famous for saying it. Google My Business is in fact a social media account. And we're going to talk in just a minute why you would want to use Google My Business as part of your social media strategy and Facebook as your strategy. In fact, I'll just jump into it right now. Those are the only two platforms that you have to sign in to get into. So Google knows who you are. If you're on Facebook or in Google My Business, it knows that you're signed in as you and that you're creating a post. So publish your posts weekly, upload photos weekly, answer questions that may be asked of you. There's a place there where they can leave reviews or ask questions and respond to those, collect those questions and get back to them. Add products or services to your thing. And this is a category unlike the business descriptions. You can add a lot of services there. So if you're a jeweler, for example, instead of just saying jewelry manufacturer, you can say that we do women's jewelry. That this is the place that you get kind of deep down in the weeds and say, this is our clientele, this is the type of services we provide. These are all of the things that you do to satisfy your customers. Set up messaging so that you can track those messages and maintain your business profile. Your profile, you're going to want to change every time you bring on a new service, maybe make an announcement when you have new employees, add photos on a very regular basis. In fact, I think the next slide that talks about adding photos. So we'll jump kind of right into that. This again is my business, E2 Total Solutions, my profile. This is my E2 Total Solutions. That's what the #1 ranking when I search for E2 Total Solutions. This is the photo that it's kind of interesting. It's very interesting. This is actually my address. This is a postal service, a UPS store, and Google doesn't generally like to approve a UPS store as your mailing address. There's a couple of tricks how to get around that. When I lived in Heber, I certainly had the UPS store there as a photo. This is actually a photo that was pulled off Google Earth. Is the address of my PO box, how you get to me. It's interesting because I don't have a brick and mortar structure anymore. But this was the closest thing that we could get to an actual photo of me. But be careful in how you do that and either reach out to Boyd or myself if you need help getting around that, because there are a couple of tricks that you can deploy. The third thing is this is our podcast. These are videos that are recorded. Obviously, we're recording this today and it can be posted as well. But these are our video podcasts that we teach on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so obviously on Mondays, it's Boyd and I. On this particular day, we had Christy, and on this particular day, we had Michael Westover. So that was a week's worth of videos that we were able to record. We upload them, and you can either put them on your site. Better yet, you could put them on YouTube. All of these things are some of the things that help your store or your site rank. So be assertive about it and be, get these things into your site, get them into your YouTube channel, get them into wherever you would like to put them in. But by all means, let's get those put in. So next page is about citations and reviews. This is actually a client of mine, which is Twisted Wrench Auto. And you can see that he has some great reviews. I mean, all of his are 5 stars. On his site, this is the bottom of the contact us page, I believe. And you can see that he has a couple of things. We're going to talk in a minute about embedding the actual map to your site. But the reason I grabbed this whole screen grab of him is to show you the reviews. And you can actually see this little arrow. He's got many more reviews than that. And on this particular slider, it actually will slide through every 5 or 4 or 5 images every 30 seconds, let's say. But that's a great way to display your reviews and have them show up on your site. It truly helps with your SEO actually have those reviews there. So these are actually Google reviews. We're using a plugin that pulls them from Google reviews and from Facebook. Again, the reason those two are so important is because you do have to register with both Facebook when you sign in and Google My Business to sign in and see them, or leave them that you are somebody that Google knows and recognizes. So this particular plugin, we're only pulling from Facebook and Google My Business. Plugins that you can pull from other places. That kind of leads us to the next category here, which is citations. So I've also got this particular client, the Mr. Bench Auto, and he has an affinity for Car Talk. So you can actually go to Car Talk and leave a review, but Google doesn't see it because it's not on one of the 2 preferred platforms, Facebook and Google My Business. So you kind of have to ask yourself, what's the point of pursuing something like Car Talk or a review on Car Talk? I think that at the end of the day, it lends some credibility because his audience might be looking on Car Talk, but it really doesn't do anything as far as your Google report goes. The citations, however, this particular picture is of 70 citation sites, and we recently have been able to go up to almost 200. We can choose our battles pretty closely. For example, with this particular client, which is an automotive shop, we might choose to use a citation which is Car Talk. You might choose to use a citation which is general Chamber of Commerce or the National Chamber of Commerce.com, because you want a listing on the National Chamber. There's a place here that it wouldn't make any sense. For example, banks.com, and this citation right here is bank.com. And so there's no reason that an automotive shop would want to be listed on bank.com. So when I say we pick and choose our battles now, we're up to almost 200 websites that we can create a citation. When I call that a citation, what that means is that we've gone into a program that we have where you can list all of the information about your business, the hours of business, the days that you're open, the type of credit cards you take, whether or not you have handicap access, whether or not you take phone calls from the hearing impaired. All of that information, everything about that information is put into this particular piece of software. Then that software goes out and creates the citations on all the sites that we told it that we liked and that we wanted to be on. For example, Car Talk might be one for this business, but there's no reason to be on banks.com. So it will then go out and create a citation. That's important because Google wants to see how many sites you actually have information posted on it. And the second thing is Google wants to make sure that you're active on that particular citation site. So this a function of this software that we put the information in will actually go out once a month and touch that particular website. So then it looks like you're active on that particular website. You create citations, let's just say 70 to 100, and then you go out and touch them every month. Plug in from your little bit of software, and it shows that you've checked that citation site every month. And so it gives you credit, or Google gives you credit, I should say, for actually being very, very active there. So reviews and citations are both important. How you manage them is up to you. As I pointed out, this particular client has his go directly into his site, as well as the other two platforms that we spoke of. And then we've got citations that run for him as well. So now, this is an interesting slide. I want you to consolidate your listing. And this was an actual article that I found, and it says that you should resolve duplicates to your Google My Business page. And then it goes on to say, you know, if you've got more than one listing, get rid of it. If you've got duplicate listings, get rid of it. You know, if you've got other practitioners that are using the same thing, for example, maybe a dentist might have multiple dentists that show up under that one listing. Try and eliminate that as best you can. You want to give them credit or make them have their own Google My Business stuff. Remove all the duplicates. You can have duplicate locations, and duplicate locations are an interesting anomaly. For example, if you own a chain of restaurants, let's just call it Boyd's Barbecue. So Boyd's Barbecue might have multiple locations, and it's okay for you to have you know, multiple locations, 5 different locations for Boyd's Barbecue. If you close one of them, or you're not doing business as one of them, or COVID's affected you, you certainly need to get rid of that and not have a duplicate location that is somebody else or that is not active. So get those out of your account. You can delete them, you can remove them from your account, and it happens almost immediately. You know, duplicate anything is really, really negative as far as SEO goes, and as far as Google is concerned. They want you to get rid of anything that's duplicate. And if you think about it for a second, it's really quite genius in the sense that you know, Google has all these spiders that crawl the web all of the time. And why would they want to have duplicate information, or crawl duplicate information, or find duplicate locations? It's absolutely insanity. A good example that I give to people when we're talking about their Contact Us page, for example, we don't want to have that be a crawlable page. We actually, in the header of that particular page, we make them not crawl pages. And what Google does is they see that that's a Contact Us form, and then it sees that we've said, do not crawl this, and actually can bump you up in the rankings a little tiny bit for helping them out and saying, don't crawl this page. And at first glance, most people say, well, why would that really affect them? The last thing in the world Google needs is to send their resources, their spiders or their robots or their crawlers, whatever you want to call them. The last thing they really need is to crawl another Contact Us page. They already have all of your information in a Google My Business page. Why do they need to crawl and index that particular page? It's absolutely futile. So help Google out and tell them, you know, in the header, this is a duplicate page, or this is duplicate information, do not follow, and you're going to get some credibility or cred for that. So I spoke earlier about frequent relevant posts, and just thought that was a cool image, so I stuck that skydiver image there. But what I wanted to say is that Boyd has a recipe, and he's teaching a class, a master class on it right now. He might be able to get in and catch the last few episodes, or contact Boyd and see when they're going to open a new one. But he follows this recipe, and it's RECIPE, and I think he's added one more category to that. But you talk about very specific things. People sometimes say, well, gee, I don't know what to say on a post, or gee, I don't know, you know, what's interesting about me. So he's put this recipe together, and it's perfect to follow. You can see that on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I have a very generic post that goes out. This is Motivational Monday, Quote of the Day Wednesdays, and then Engaging Fridays. This, by the way, is my E2 page. So you can see how many other times I'm putting custom content or custom SEO content in. So this is what I say every month. This was last month, I think it was. So you can actually see how many times I posted and what platforms I went to. Sometimes I don't go to every platform. This is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, where on this one, I went to everything: Pinterest, Google My Business, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So you can kind of pick and choose your battles and post on a regular basis. Let Google know that you're engaged in the internet. That's the whole point, is that Google wants to see that you're engaged. And so by posting on a regular basis, you're engaged. Getting reviews on a regular basis, you're engaged. Making changes to your Google My Business page or your website whenever there's a change, then Google sees that you're engaged. And Boyd's tongue is about to jump out of his mouth. I know he's got something to say.
I do. Oh dear.
There
Really?
you go.
I was just going to say, you know, the recipe actually stands, the word recipe stands for some different things. Like R is for recreational, and then we have E is educational, the C is for conversational, and then I is for inspirational, P is for promotional, and the last E is for entrepreneurial. And the idea is, if you rotate between all of these 6 categories, then it will help you break up your social media, and it will give you the components that most people want to see from you. And and you can see that the motivational and the engaging and quotes, those are all actually part of the recreational, the inspirational. And so we put in a lot of those kind of things just simply to break it up, so that it's not always just about SEO or just about website or just about, in my case, social media. And so, but by putting in some of these other things and remembering to put something promotional in, something that's educational, and then something about yourself or the business, which is entrepreneurial.
You know, that's a great point, Boyd, and that people don't want to be sold to every single time.
Exactly.
So when you start to put some private information or some personal information in there, it makes them endeared to you, makes them feel like they know you and want to stay engaged with you. So,
and it's the same thing with educational. Yes, you can do an educational thing all the time, but if you don't break it up, they're just going to say, "Oh, I'll get back to that later," after a while. Where if you break it up a bit, they're going to say, "Oh, I need to get to this right now because I don't know when I'll see it again."
good point. So all you guys skydivers out there, go ahead and put your skydiving posts in, and we want to hear about your adventures doing that. So at any rate, do a frequent post. Make sure that it's relevant to your industry, but has all of that personal contact that goes in there: personal education, personal information, all of the things that mix that up so that it's not just sell, sell, sell. So this is something that continues to baffle me, and that's making your site mobile responsive. And what that means basically is that your site is going to display on a cell phone or a smartphone. And today, and this is the most recent information I could pull up, is that 60% of all the Google searches occur on a mobile device. It's a trend that I've seen happen for over a decade. I've been watching that. There's a category inside of Google Analytics that says what device accessed your website. And it used to be a really small number of mobile devices, and a couple, 4 years ago, it started to be a real upswing, and now it's over 60% of the searches are done on a cell phone. I could tell you stories about people shopping on their cell phone while there was somebody right there trying to sell them something, and they shopped on their phone and said, "Look, I bought it while you were fumbling with your computer or checking inventory. I've actually gone and bought it." So make sure that your site's responsive. Make sure that it functions across multiple devices. And when I say that, it's not just a mobile device, but it's an iPhone, or it's a iPhone versus a Android phone. It's the big Android phone versus the small Android phone. I've actually got a program that duplicates whatever web browser and whatever phone you've got. So it shows you what it's going to look like on that phone. And And surprisingly, in a lot of cases, not many cases, but in a surprising number of cases, by the time you get a unique browser, I'm going to say whatever, Firefox, and then a different phone or a different type of phone, it doesn't all render the same. So you have to kind of ascertain what kind of phones your people all have. If you're in a technology business, they might be all iPhones. If you're in a service business, they might be more Android phones. But find out how people are going to be searching for you, where they're going to be searching, what kind of browsers they use. These might all be great questions for Boyd to put out a questionnaire on. What type of browser, what type of phones do you use, and get I guess I've answered that. Because right now it's still a mystery. I mean, I can check and see what they all look like. When somebody calls me and says, hey, this doesn't work on my phone, I check their browser, check their phone and go, yeah, you're right, it doesn't. And then we can make accommodations. But be aware that it doesn't show up the same on every device every time. So make sure that your site is mobile responsive. The next thing is use a local keyword search. And in both cases of the storefronts that I mentioned earlier, in both cases, they are national in nature. Neither of them are international, but both of them are national. And so when we put into the Google My Business platform, what is your area of business? They said the USA. So on their Google My Business map, it shows a map of the USA. If you put in Utah, then it kind of shrinks it down to just the shape of Utah. And if you put a hurricane, then it's going to drive it down even further, just the hurricane area. And you want to be found for local searches. Think about it this way. If you're a local coffee shop, if you're a local barber, and by all means, you want that local traffic, that local business. If you're selling 100% online, like both of these other stores are, you can be national in scope, but you're not going to necessarily rank highly for local traffic. We're having to work on them on a much larger scale and use keywords on a different type of scale than you would use for the local search. I'm going to give you guys a great example of how a local search works. And most of you know that I used to live in Heber City. I lived east of town, up in the mountains a little bit. And ironically, my servers were in, my first internet connection was in a town called Camas, which is, the way the crow flies, certainly a closer town probably than Heber. So I lived in the mountains outside of Heber. When I did a search for men's haircut, my servers bounced off an IP address that was located in Camas, not in Heber City. Now, for me to get to Camas, it would be an hour, more than an hour's drive. You have to drive down to Heber, around the mountain to get to Camas, to get to where my ISP or the servers I was bouncing off of were. It was much quicker for me to get to Heber City. But what I actually was really wanting was a men's haircut in Heber, because that's 30 minutes away, as opposed to Camas, which was over an hour away. So be careful kind of how that works. That was a unique situation. But if you put in or want to be found for local words, local coffee shops, local hair salons, local massage, whatever that is, you need to have those images. You need to have that in your headings, your body text, your URLs. Your URL was a great way to display maybe your haircuts in Heber might be the name of your business or the name of your URL, or you might buy a secondary URL, a landing page, and drive that to yours. But what that does at the end of the day is it makes Google feel confident that they can display you. If you have a Google My Business page and it says that you're located in Heber, and then you're using local keywords like Heber-based keywords, then Google's going to feel pretty confident and rank you a little bit higher in that pile of the websites, because it's seeing continuity across the board. It sees that you've got a Google My Business page that shows Heber. It shows your keywords as Heber or Midway or whatever is close to Heber, and they're going to feel really confident about ranking your page. So by all means, do that and use the local keywords. It's really beneficial. So another way to make your site rank a little bit better is to embed your site or your map, excuse me, into your sites. And if you go to the Google My Business page or the map of your website, you can just click on this share button. It's going to give you a unique code. That unique code you can put into your Google My Business page or your website, excuse me. And you'll want to put that into your website. And generally that's found on the Contact Us page. So there'll be all kinds of great information. I want to talk a little bit about the NAP, which is the name, address, and phone number, NAP of most websites. And certainly on the Contact Us page, you want your phone number, your name, your address, all of that appears there. If you can support that with a map or how to find you, that's even better. And Google more often shows a map with directions. It'll figure out where you are and then give you directions on how to get there. So that's another way of telling Google, where your business is located, how people can find you, and you follow the NAP strategy. NAP strategy not only has that information on the Contact Us page. Please put your phone number up in the header of your websites. It drives me crazy when I go to a website and I don't know how to contact them from the very first page. And that's the very first page above the fold. So by all means, you want to have your phone number above there, maybe not an address, but the name and phone number above that fold. And then certainly in the footer as well, and then on the Contact Us page. So use the NAP strategy and get all of that information in there as quick and as best you can. I want to talk real quickly about demographics. And this is understanding your clients. And I know that there's several conversations we've had about demographics and how to track your customers, find out who your best customers are, so we want to deliver a message to your best customer the best way that we can. And I stuck this graphic in there because and it's a little bit dated. It's a couple of years old. But, I like it because it shows how many different ways there are to reach a client. And if you don't know who your client is, then you don't really know how to reach out to them or craft a message to them is going to render or resonate with them, I should say. So do they live on Google, or do they watch blogs or listen to reviews? Who are they? How do they get their information? What news sites do they go to and get their information? And beyond that, this is a graphic that I actually pulled out of my social portal account. And you can see that Facebook, and think about your Facebook graphic. What's the demographic of a Facebook user? Twitter traffic, who's likely to be on Twitter? Instagram, what's the age demographic? Is it man or woman? What's their age, like 25 to 35 or 40? LinkedIn, who are they? They tend to be more professional in scope and nature. Tumblr, this is my account that we're looking at right here. I just recently joined Tumblr. I've not been there for until I recently joined. I find that demographic to be much younger than I really expected it to be. Pinterest, of course, we all have this vision of an old lady sitting there learning about crafts. But it tells a story that one of the most recent searches on Pinterest this summer was how to tie flies or fly fishing. So it's not all women, and it's not all, they're not all 65 or 70 and have one foot in the grave. It's a little bit younger demographic you might expect, both men and women. And I love them because they have disposable income. So they're a target for most of my businesses. They're trying to sell something online. And then of course, Google My Business is one place that you want to publish to all the time. Hopefully that's where your clients are really going to render or understand more information about you or your business. So those are, think about the demographic, think about your message, think about the price point, think about the timing. Every one of these posts that you send out, you can quite literally send them at a different time of day. And, if you're maybe a Instagram or a Facebook user, you might get up a little bit earlier than a Pinterest user. So timing is certainly important. And if you throw out special offers, think about your revenue stream or your cost stream. Does that resonate with the right person at the right time to make the right sale? So think about all those things when you're considering messaging and when you send it out and who you're sending it to. So the Entrepreneur Factory, entrepreneur-factory.com social posting is where you can find this special. And what it is it's basically this program that I've shown you a couple slides on today. And you can purchase it on a monthly basis and actually have these motivational, the quote of the day and the engaging ones just automatically. And then we will actually teach you how to throw in the SEO or the custom contents and some of those things. There's both videos on the social portal itself. And I know Boyd's got some videos that show that. This is a really important way for people to understand that you're active and online and engaging with your clients and engaging with information and doing all of the right things. So by all means, go to Entrepreneur Factory, and there's many, many cool things that you can find there, but this is something I wanted to throw out. We don't frequently advertise, but this is worth mentioning. So a business funnel is what we preach, and we talk about it a great deal. There's a couple of quotes that I wanted to talk about, and the first one is from a guy named Richard Branson. You may have heard of him. He just flew a spaceship into space, or at least low-level orbit. And he says when you're in business that you're going to make mistakes, and when you're pushing the boundaries, mistakes are inevitable. Just know how to react to them is more important than trying to avoid them. You're never going to avoid all the mistakes. So just know how to react to them. This other guy works for a little company you may have heard of called Facebook. And his quote that I thought was compelling is, retention is the single most important thing for growth. So those two comments kind of both flow into my networking funnel or my marketing funnel here. And so what you want people to do is become aware of you, and then you want them to consider you as a business, a viable business. You want them to engage you with a conversation, and then this is the point of conversion. That's where the customer actually makes the sale, makes the decision to buy. And then after that, you want them to both become a repeat customer and an advocate. That's when you dump them back into the top of your funnel. When they're an advocate for you, that means they go out and actively tell their friends, hey, this SEO company, or you need a social media company. I've got these guys that are great, and this is what they do and how they took care of me and all of that. So he's out there actually proselyting or preaching his friends for you. And that's the best kind of referral. That's the best kind of client to have. So be aware that we want to cast a big net at the top of the awareness funnel. They want to consider you as a business, then they engage you or make the conversion, and then become loyal customers because you took such good care of them and they go back to the top of that funnel. So think about the business funnel as part of your business strategy. Lastly, this is kind of a new slide for me. You guys have all heard me say it, circles within circles. In the upper left-hand corner there, I have some water droplets, and in the middle, I have a picture of the ocean, and it's drop by drop and wave by wave is what's creating that beautiful sea cave. And so it's the consistency, it's all of those circles within circles, all of those drops of water wearing on that stone that wear it out. So be consistent, be committed, and your storefront will actually show up. It's just going to take a little time. You can't be in too big of a hurry. I know that we're always anxious, but be aware that it takes a minute to get there. So I want to thank you for your time today. And my thank you slide says live, work, and create. And that's what we're doing when we're creating great websites, great storefronts, all of those things. So by all means, work and create.
And one of the big things that this does, as he said when he started, was this will get Google to give you more business and drive it to your site. So, and that's what we're always looking for, is ways to get Google or anybody to tell more people about you. And so that's what this is all about. I hope this was great information for you. I know I even learned a few things. And so there you go, Jim. You are teaching an old dog some new tricks. And so we thank you, and we'll talk to you soon now. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Boyd, and thanks everyone for showing up.
Yep.